You're tuned to the Steve Donoghue Show on CPL Radio, your one-stop daily source for Steve's take on the world of books. And now your host, the book critic who literally reads everything, Steve Donoghue.
Greetings, fellow patrons of the Cedarburg Public Library, and welcome back to the Steve Donoghue Show, where we talk about bookish news, views, and reviews with fixed gaze and steady hand. And since today is Friday, and since many of you may be heading into a weekend relatively free of labor, I thought we'd end the week with a few quick book reviews to tide you on your way and perhaps arm you for any bookstore visits you might make before we speak again on Monday. The first of these is the worst of these, unfortunately. It's Disloyal, the new memoir by former Donald Trump fixer and leg breaker Michael Cohen, who's serving a jail sentence in part for helping Donald Trump to break the law by facilitating payment of hush money to a porn star in the weeks before the voting began in the 2016 presidential election. If you've been watching the news lately, you already know that Trump tried unsuccessfully to stop publication of the book. And if you've ever heard Cohen speak, you'll know ahead of time what to expect in this god-awful book's tone and tenor. It's got the same glutinous self-pity, the same childlike biddability, and most of all, the same stale haddock reek of sheer stupidity that always emanates from Cohen when he speaks. The gist of the book is identical to the gist of virtually all other Trump exposés. I saw him do all those horrible, racist, misogynistic, illegal things. I helped him do them. I gladly profited from them in any way I could. But now that I'm federally indicted / serving a sentence / out of the spotlight, I'm overseeing the quick ghostwriting of a tell-all in order to A, raise some cash, and B, assure the reading public that I was mesmerized. I was spellbound. That although I happily did evil and witnessed evil, I myself am not evil. Cohen had 200-something pages to convince me that I should hate him even a fraction less than I hate his former boss, and he no more succeeded than have any of Trump's other indicted cronies. Next up, we have considerably lighter fare, although in some ways every bit as irritating. It's Royal by Danielle Steele. It's the latest hardcover release from a woman who's written nearly 150 novels. This one tells a lightly mythologized version of the House of Windsor during the darkest days of the Blitz. In Royal, King George and his Queen Elizabeth have 3 daughters, not 2, and the youngest, Princess Charlotte, is sent away to the hills and dales of Yorkshire as a precaution her 2 older sisters refuse. The novel follows Charlotte's adventures in her benevolent exile from Buckingham Palace. In reality, both the king's daughters remained in London, although the king's mother, Queen Mary, was indeed sent to the country to avoid bombing raids. But the adventures of the princess in the countryside are not the irritating part. Moving characters from point A to point B is something Steele has been doing for 40 years. And she sets about her task with all the impersonal dispatch of a dentist's assistant. Every other chapter, I expect her to just sort of calmly say, "You can spit now." No, the irritation arises from the fact so simple that it's startling. Not once, not in all those 40 years, has Steele actually learned anything at all about how to write. Her prose is flat, her figures of speech are trite, and ye gods, does she repeat herself. You'll be wondering after 2 chapters why she isn't edited. Each one of her last 10 novels could easily have been pan-broiled down to a competent short story without losing anything essential, and Royal is no exception. There are faint stabs at giving Charlotte an actual personality, but they amount to nothing in the end, and although the premise would seem to lend itself to Steele's great genius as an author, her unfailing ability to provide her readers with daydreams they can inhabit, even that fails to ignite in these pages, mainly because the whole thing feels so dreadfully tired, like a rote exercise instead of a fictional fantasia. Even Danielle Steele fans will find it uphill work to really enjoy Royal, I'm thinking. Much more enjoyable is Nantucket Weddings by Megyn Kelly, the 5th book in the Nantucket Beach Plum Cove series of romances. From a rotating spotlight of regular characters, this latest novel centers on star wedding planner Mia Maxwell, who here finds herself masterminding not one but two elaborate Nantucket weddings, while feeling some distinct elements of that old always a bridesmaid, never a bride mind frame. But in a real sense, it hardly matters which of her characters' stories Kelly chooses to tell. True, every reader of the series will eagerly be waiting for the spotlight to fall on their own personal favorite character, but each book is identically smart and funny and even a little touching. This is near perfect escapist reading for the ember days of summer, needless to say, especially if you're experiencing those ember days on Nantucket. And equally escapist, but much meatier, is The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis, a novel whose two main female protagonists are separated by 80 years. One, the wife of the New York Public Library's superintendent in 1913, yearns to do something with her life beyond the roles of mother and society hostess. The other, a curator of the library in 1993, is that first character's granddaughter, but at least at first, she's nothing like her in terms of personality. And Davis does a superb job of interweaving the two plot lines and the two time frames, carefully parceling out the revelations in ways that will keep even a jaded reader turning the pages. And best of all, the New York Public Library itself gradually emerges as a fantastic three-dimensional character in its own right. This is brightly done and eminently satisfying historical fiction, and it will be catnip to book lovers, and especially library lovers of all kind, and particularly book or library lovers who know the Fifth Avenue branch of the New York Public Library, who have been there and walked around and breathed in its atmosphere. And there you have it, fellow patrons. Just a handful of quick reviews to tide you over for the weekend. I hope you spend extravagant amounts of that weekend reading, and I'll talk to you all again on Monday.
The Steve Donoghue Show is a production of CPL Radio, a service of the Cedarburg Public Library located in Cedarburg, Wisconsin.